The next part for the top rails is you have the two long ones that are going to the front and the back. They will have a single hole on the ends. Those holes face to the outside in that orientation or that orientation if it's front or back. You also have the side rails. Those have features for the Z-rods to go through. These holes go to the outside, and the rod holder holes go towards the top. So the orientation, the proper orientation is like that. You will need 4 knuckles to assemble those. The knuckles are assembled with this open square facing up. That feature is facing up for all 4 knuckles. That is the orientation that these will go together. Like this. And put the front one together onto the knuckles so that those knuckles can then slip onto the side rails. And then slip that on to the top and secure these with M4 bolts. Again, they just have to be snug. You do not need to over tighten these. But with the new aluminum rails and the ribs inside, you can use a power tool without worrying about stripping them out. You do that on all 4 corners. Now that is attached. Some of these rails are a little bit high. They can just be tapped in. You can then secure them with the rail or the rod holders. And then secure with M4 bolts. Alright, we're now ready to level out the Gantry. Alright, so now we'll first turn the printer back around. Not really necessary, but just for orientation's sake. Note that you have your 2 bearings on the back, 1 bearing on the front for the carriage. We're now going to lift the Gantry all the way to the top, and while holding it in place, put these Z-nuts all the way up to the top. Now if you want, you can chuck the end into a drill and just spin them up. And you want these just to be snug. So that it holds it in place, but it's not bending anything. So just snug enough that they are held in place without wiggling around. So those are solid. Now, with that leveled to everything and squared with the frame, you now want to go back in and by hand tighten down those M3 bolts. Shouldn't take more than maybe half a turn because they were just slightly loose before. Some of those are loose. So those are nice and tight. And your X gantry should now be very solid and squared to everything. The next step is going to be lining up the Z-nuts. So you want to back the rod down until you can rotate the Z-nut so that the holes line up. Get a picture of that. And then holding it in place with the holes lined up, back the rod off until it is back snug. And then bolt that in place. And if it is lined up well, the bolt should just slide right in with no binding. And it will make sure that the Z-nut is also flat against the bracket on the bottom. Same thing on this side. And you can feel when the rod, when you're turning the threaded rod, you can feel when the resistance is tight and it's just snug. You don't have to over crank it. And this is the easiest way to get everything lined up and square so that when we first turn on the machine, it'll go all the way down to the bed with no squeal. And once it's all the way down and lines up the bottom of the Z motor mounts, then we can raise it back up and we can then tighten in these 4 screws. Remember, we left those loose before. That's so that we can self-align everything as we move this carriage all the way down. It'll self-adjust, tighten those down, and everything will be all squared and in order.